idea that there's this special carve out for Atlantic Canada comes directly from the fact that there are Liberal MPs from Atlantic Canada who are very worried about losing their seats. And they have actually come out against the hike in the carbon tax. So this is purely a political thing. It has nothing to do with, as the Liberals say, doing our part in fighting climate change, because the bunker fuel adjacent home heating oil that they use in Atlantic Canada is quite high in emissions as opposed to clean burning natural gas. And yet the tax remains on natural gas because the Liberals stand to lose nothing by keeping this punitive tax in place for Western Canada. It's blue out here. It's basically a blue sweep, except for a couple of dots of red caused by the vote split and like one NDP riding. They stand to lose nothing out here. And I should note, I don't know if we were able to dig it up, my good buddy Chris Sims from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation actually pointed out that it is Westerners who still, regardless of whether it's I call it the bunker fuel adjacent home heating oil, because it really is not very clean at all. If you care about those things, I really don't, but the Liberals tell me they do. It's Westerners who heat their home with natural gas that still pay more of the tax. And as Tiff Macklem pointed out, head of the Bank of Canada pointed out that this is causing a 16% inflationary issue for all Canadians across the board. So Chris Sims, we'll go to her tweet if you wouldn't mind. She lays it out. So the average cost on home heating fuel, if we can show this tweet, Efron dug it up, Olivia. Perfect. So Chris Sims from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, born again Albertan, and boy, we're glad to have her. Average carbon tax cost on home heating fuel for Canadian homes. Atlantic Canada relies heavily on furnace oil. Most homes in Ontario and the West use natural gas. So carbon tax on furnace oil, $272, natural gas, $286. So actually we're getting the raw end of the deal, and propane is $280. So they're exempting the dirtier version. Again, their terms, not mine. I think fossil fuels are lovely, regardless of how you get them. But if you care about emissions, they're actually exempting the dirtier fuel. And we are actually being hit harder by the carbon tax than those in Atlantic Canada anyway.
Absolutely. And it's not a surprise. Like, one of my questions that I have scripted out for someone who I'm not going to say because I want it to be a bit of a surprise for them, but is it's not really about climate. It never has been. It's a tax redistribution scheme. It's a control mechanism. But listen, like, we're literally, they give breaks to China. They give breaks to dirtier burning fuels. They'll give breaks to everyone under the sun. Cities can dump sewer waste straight into the oceans. That's absolutely fine. This is exclusively just anti-Western, anti-Albertan. That's all it is. It's intended to punish and control. And the Liberal Party has absolutely zero interest. They know they don't need Western Canada to win. They would punish and beat and abuse Western Canada to secure votes in the East. They really don't care about us at all. Justin Trudeau doesn't care about Western people.
Let's move ahead to, is it a Danielle Smith tweet? Yes, a tweet.
Yes.
She says, buckle up, because despite the Liberal attacks on the West, this still remains the best place in this country to achieve your goals of financial sustainability and living the Canadian dream of possibly owning a house and having children and maybe even taking a vacation all at once one day, which is so out of reach for young people in so many parts of this country. She says, buckle up, low taxes, good policy, and the best workers in the world are projected to move to Alberta into positive economic territory we've never seen before. So Alberta's monthly GDP recovered to its all-time high. So we left the NDP in the dust in, I think it's 2019. Yeah, 2019. And it has taken us 4 full years to undo what they've done, to just get back to sort of where we were. And despite the Liberals' attacks on us for booming, think about how we could be booming if we were just allowed to do what we do best, and that is to sustainably produce cheap, reliable, affordable fossil fuels for not just the rest of the country, but the rest of the world. Imagine if, as Pierre Poilievre says, the gatekeepers were removed from the way of Alberta.
And the thing that's really amazing to me is very often, and I mean, people do this on both sides, but there are ebbs and flows within economies, and you can't attribute all the success or failings to governments. But you can just look, when the NDP is in, business goes down, people leave the provinces, head offices close. When we have an Alberta First-minded government that's supporting industries and taking the sort of practical approach to these things, contributing and supporting industries that actually create growth, this is what happens. And it's there are ebbs and flows, and you can watch that, but you can also see the impact that the government has. And it is hard to deny that this impact is contributing, at least in some ways, to business coming in, to people making more money, to people keeping more money in their pockets. And it goes beyond the carbon tax. It's every facet of life, absolutely. By juxtaposition, and the adults in the room, quote unquote, NDP will back Conservative motion to exempt carbon tax from all home heating. We're now jumping to the federal situation, but I do want to talk briefly, and I think you guys talked about this the other day. You probably saw Rachel Notley stating like, oh, this needs to be for everybody needs a break. And then when the Conservatives, the UCP, brought that motion forward, they voted no. It's wild. At least the federal Conservatives have some variance of sense to them.
Yeah, it's the other day, Rachel Notley sort of tweeted out that it was unfair to give a carve out to Atlantic Canada while not giving one to Alberta. But she didn't mean remove the tax on Alberta with regard to the carbon tax. She, I think, given what happened on motion 8 the other day, she thought it was unfair to remove the tax on Atlantic Canada, that they should keep the carbon tax across the board. She wasn't clear in her tweets. We were like, oh, wow, the NDP came to their senses very briefly, despite the fact that they imposed this carbon tax on us in 2015 before Justin Trudeau did. I was like, whoa, did she just have a come to Jesus moment? Definitely not. She wanted the carbon tax kept as blanket across the board. And you know how we know that? Motion 8 was introduced in the Alberta legislature, and it was a motion to condemn Justin Trudeau's mistreatment of Alberta and his carbon tax that's making life harder and more expensive for families. And the NDP, so the motion passed the legislature because the UCP hold a majority, thank God. So with the support of 46 United Conservative MLAs and 1 independent MLA, I'm going to guess that was Drew Barnes, and 26 NDP MLAs voted against motion 8, while NDP leader Rachel Notley abstained from voting altogether. Shane Getson, one of the MLAs that I like, said the NDP's actions in the legislature Tuesday serve as proof point why they lost the election and why Albertans still don't trust them. This is absolutely true. How could the NDP, honestly, how could they vote to condemn Justin Trudeau's carbon tax when they themselves first imposed a carbon tax in 2015? They did it before Justin Trudeau. So how could they actually admit that they got it wrong? Because it would be magical thinking to think Justin Trudeau's carbon tax is punishing Alberta and driving up the cost of everything and chasing business away. But ours definitely didn't do that.
Hey, I got to tell you, I'm going on a cruise with a whole bunch of rebels. We're sailing out of Fort Lauderdale on March 23rd, 2024. That's not so far away, less than 6 months away. A gorgeous trip around the Caribbean. Holland America Line, boy, is that luxurious. And we're going to bring some of our favorite rebel talent. Sheila Gunn Reid, David Menzies, and can you believe it? We're actually bringing Tamara Leach with us, and you are invited. That's rebelnewscruise.com.